It's 2 in the morning, and your dog will not stop staring at you. Not the food bowl stare, not the walk me stare, not even the vacuum cleaner stare, the one reserved for her single sworn enemy. She's flat on the floor, still, eyes locked on your chest, tracking your breathing like she's counting it. You tell yourself she needs the yard. She hasn't moved in 11 minutes. Dogs have lived beside humans for 30,000 years, breathing the same air as every illness that has ever passed through a human body. And that air was never empty. Every disease changes how you smell, long before you feel a symptom. Cancer has a scent. A crashing blood sugar has a scent. Something in the room has just been the only one able to receive it. The real question isn't whether an animal can tell you're sick. It's how long they've known. One of the earliest written medical reports of this is decades old. A woman whose dog would not stop sniffing and nipping at an ordinary-looking mole on her leg for weeks until she finally had it checked. It was malignant melanoma, caught early enough to save her life. If a dog can find a tumor a hospital hasn't found yet, what else is it smelling that we haven't caught up to? Here's where it gets interesting. Your dog is not reading your mood. Not primarily. That's the assumption most people bring into this, that an animal senses sickness the same loose way it senses sadness, off a slumped posture or a too quiet house. The truth is stranger than that, and a lot more clinical. It isn't empathy, it's chemistry. Every cell in your body constantly leaks tiny gas molecules into the air, called volatile organic compounds. A healthy cell releases one signature. A cancer cell, dividing without permission, releases a different one. A body running low on insulin releases another one again. None of it registers to you or to your doctor standing in the same room. A dog's nose carries up to 300 million scent receptors. Yours carries about 6 million. That isn't a slight edge. It's a different sense altogether, tuned to catch a change measured in parts per trillion, the equivalent of noticing one drop of something dissolved across 2 Olympic swimming pools. This isn't a new idea either. Dogs had already spent decades being trained to detect explosives and drugs hidden inside sealed luggage, a nose sensitive enough to catch one hidden chemical among thousands of others. It was only a matter of time before researchers started asking what else that same nose could be trained to notice, this time inside a human body instead of a suitcase. In 2006, a researcher named Michael McCulloch ran a study that sounds almost too simple to work. Dogs with zero medical training were given breath samples from cancer patients and from healthy volunteers, then asked to lie down beside the ones that matched a certain scent. They picked the cancer samples correctly, the overwhelming majority of the time. Nobody taught them what a tumor was supposed to smell like. They already knew. Other teams tried to replicate McCulloch's results with different cancers entirely, breast, lung, even ovarian, using nothing but breath or tissue samples. Accuracy dropped somewhat outside a controlled lab. Sniffing out disease in a sterile test is not quite the same as doing it in a living room every day, but the core finding never fully went away. Something about a cancer cell's chemistry really is detectable, and a dog really can detect it. Your dog does not have a medical degree. Your dog does not have malpractice insurance, a waiting room, or the patience to sit through you describing your symptoms in the exact order. A search engine listed them. It skipped all of that and went straight to the smell. Here's the question that should be sitting in the back of your mind right now. If scent alone can catch a disease this early, why isn't every hospital already using it? Some quietly are. In the UK, a charity called Medical Detection Dogs spends months training animals to warn their owners before a diabetic crash, sometimes 20 minutes before a blood test would catch the same thing. The dogs aren't trained from a textbook. They're trained on a jar of sweat collected from a night their owner's blood sugar actually dropped. and a steady supply of treats. It works well enough that some of these dogs now function, in practice, as medical equipment with a heartbeat. Scientists have tried to replace the dog with a machine. Electronic noses built to detect single molecules exist, and they work narrowly. None of them come close to matching a dog's performance across a real, messy human body. A sensor can be tuned to catch one specific chemical. A dog can be trained in weeks to notice an entire pattern of hundreds of them shifting together, the way an actual disease behaves. Engineers have spent millions of dollars trying to build what your dog does for free, and a belly rub. It goes further than smell, too. Some dogs appear to predict a seizure minutes before it starts, pacing, whining, or physically pushing their owner toward a couch or a soft patch of floor. Researchers still aren't certain exactly what they're picking up on. It might be scent. It might be a shift in posture, breathing, or movement too small for a person to consciously register. What's clear is that the dog notices it consistently enough that seizure-alert dogs are now trained and placed with epilepsy patients as an actual safety system, not a party trick. Some of these dogs weren't even trained for the role first. Owners noticed the pattern on their own, long before any organization got involved. A dog that got anxious 10 minutes before a seizure hit every single time, until someone finally thought to write it down. None of this happened by accident either. Every dog that reacted early to a change in its owner and helped that owner survive because of it made itself a little more valuable, a little more likely to be fed, sheltered, and bred again. Repeat that arrangement across enough generations, and evolution had a very direct reason to keep sharpening a nose built to catch these signals as early as possible. Here's the part that should really stop you. We've spent 30,000 years thinking of dogs, mainly as protection from other things, wolves, intruders, the dark outside the fire. It took this long to notice they might also be protecting us from ourselves. That protectiveness may not even be an accident of training. In 2015, a researcher named Miho Nagasawa found that when a dog and its owner lock eyes, both of their bodies release oxytocin, the same bonding chemical that spikes between a parent and a newborn. Wolves don't do this. Only dogs do, and only with humans. Thousands of years beside us appears to have wired a feedback loop of attention directly into the species. The same locked gaze that builds the bond may be what keeps a dog watching closely enough to notice when something in you has changed. Here's a piece of this story almost nobody has heard. For a while, a human could do this too. In Scotland, a woman named Joy Milne noticed her husband's skin had taken on a faint, musky smell, almost like old candle wax, years before doctors diagnosed him with Parkinson's disease. She mentioned it, almost in passing, to a research team long after his diagnosis, and instead of brushing it off, they tested her. She was handed dozens of skin swabs, some from Parkinson's patients and some from people without the disease, with no other information. She sorted nearly all of them correctly, including one she flagged as Parkinson's from a person with no diagnosis on file at all. Months later, that person was diagnosed too. Her nose had been ahead of the disease. Meanwhile, you're on the couch at 2 a.m, running your own symptoms through a search engine that will confidently inform you it's either a mild cold or a rare parasite found in one specific region of sub-Saharan Africa. Your dog didn't need the search results. It already had the answer, and it can't type. It isn't only dogs either, though dogs get most of the credit, mostly because they live in our houses and stare at us the longest. Horses appear to sync their heart rate to a distressed handler standing nearby, slowing or speeding to match. Elephants have been documented gathering around a distressed or grieving human caretaker, going still and quiet in a way handlers describe as unmistakably deliberate. Even cats, written off as too indifferent to notice anything about us, have been recorded shifting their behavior around an owner mid-seizure or in physical distress, not as reliably as dogs, and the research is thinner, but it isn't nothing. The pattern isn't a dog trick. It's closer to a rule about any animal that lives close enough to a human body to read it. During the pandemic, several research teams tested whether dogs could catch something newer, the virus behind COVID-19, the same way, through sweat samples, no test kit involved. In more than one trial, trained dogs flagged infected samples with an accuracy that beat the rapid tests sitting on pharmacy shelves at the time. It sounds like a novelty act for a talk show. It's closer to a preview of a diagnostic tool nobody has fully built yet. So the animal at your feet is not guessing. It's running a kind of diagnosis you can't see, using a sense you were never given, on the one body it has spent its entire life being fed and sheltered to protect. It has been doing this in some form for as long as it has lived beside you, which, if you trace the relationship back far enough, is as long as there have been humans around to get sick in the first place. You've probably spent years assuming the vet visits were mostly for her benefit, her teeth, her weight, her vaccines. It never occurred to you that somewhere in that same appointment, she may have already been quietly running one on you too, with absolutely no way to hand you the result. You lock the door at night out of habit. You keep a first aid kit under the sink you've never actually opened. You've got a health app on your phone that reminds you to drink water and not much else. And the whole time, something has been lying at the foot of your bed, quietly reading you better than any of it. It's 2 a.m. again, and she still hasn't looked away. She was never waiting for a walk. She's reading you, quietly, constantly, for free. And she has been since long before you ever noticed her staring.